In 1893, the Congress Plaza Hotel, located along Michigan Avenue in Chicago, Illinois, opened for the World's Fair. Since then, it has hosted presidents, celebrities, and even notorious gangsters. Behind its grand vintage facade, a style that continues to draw tourists from around the world, lies a much darker reputation. The Congress Plaza Hotel is not only one of the oldest hotels in the city, it is also considered one of the most haunted. Over the years, countless guests have reported unsettling experiences, and some claim the activity is so intense that they're unable to stay the entire night. The hotel was designed by architect Clinton J. Warren and built by developer R.H. Southgate for the World's Fair. From the moment its doors opened, hundreds of guests passed through its halls, each one leaving behind a trace of their presence. The success of the hotel was so immense that it went under massive expansion and renovation between 1902 and 1907. This came with the addition of the South Tower. A lavish banquet hall known as the Gold Room took shape. Just 2 years later, even more spaces were added to the North Tower, a ballroom and 2 other event rooms called the Florentine Room, Elizabethan Room, and the Pompeian Room. But over time, these spaces would come to hold far more than music, laughter, and light. During World War II, the government took over the hotel as a training site for U.S. Army Air Forces. By 1950, the property was acquired by the Pick Hotel Corporation, ushering in yet another wave of major renovations. New suites were built, restaurants opened, another ballroom was added. Even escalators, which were considered a luxury at the time, were installed. In 1987, the hotel changed hands one final time, passing to philanthropist Albert Nasser. By then, the hotel was a place shaped by constant change, long occupancy, and the lingering presence of anyone who passed through its doors. Over the course of nearly a century, the hotel played host to history in all its extremes. 8 U.S. presidents have stayed in its walls. It was even used as a broadcast location for an NBC radio show hosted by Benny Goodman. Not every moment inside the hotel was positive, though. Over the years, multiple suicides and countless other deaths were reported. Some quiet, some violent, and many never fully explained. Allegedly, notorious gangster Al Capone and his associates used the hotel as their headquarters, with rumors claiming that horrific crimes were committed within its rooms and corridors. If true, it would mean that power, fear, violence, and death all left their mark on the same halls once meant for luxury and escape. Given the number of deaths that have occurred here, it comes as little surprise to many that the building is said to hold lingering energies. Over the years, several rooms have been closed to the public, and one was even sealed completely due to the intensity of the activity reported inside. Guests and staff alike have reported seeing shadowy apparitions, hearing disembodied voices, and even seeing objects move by themselves. Experiences that leave people questioning if they are truly alone. One of the most well-known spirits said to haunt the hotel is known as the Shadow Man. In 1900, Captain Louis Ostheim was staying the night at the hotel on the night before his wedding. A veteran of the Spanish-American War, he was said to suffer from severe night terrors due to his post-traumatic stress disorder. That night he woke up after a violent episode, disoriented and not fully conscious. He reached for his gun, put the barrel to his head, and pulled the trigger. Since that night, his spirit has been witnessed in many areas of the hotel. He shows himself as a shadowy figure and will glide through the halls and follow guests and workers. One security guard even reported chasing the figure all the way to the roof. By the time the guard had caught up, the figure had vanished. Some believe Captain Ostheim's spirit is still wandering the halls of the hotel, searching for the woman he was going to marry. Another spirit said to haunt the hotel is known as the Ghost Boy. In 1939, a 43-year-old Jewish woman named Adele Langer arrived at the hotel with her 2 sons, 6-year-old Carl and 4-year-old Jan. They had fled Czechoslovakia to escape Nazi occupation and came to Chicago to be near her aunt. The family of 3 was waiting for Carl Sr. to join them, but days passed, then weeks. Her husband never arrived. Adele was unable to find work. Between having to leave her homeland suddenly, not knowing where her husband was, and not being able to find work, she was becoming increasingly overwhelmed. One day after she took her boys to the Lincoln Park Zoo, she opened the window to their room and threw her sons out the window onto the sidewalk below. Immediately, she jumped from the window as well. All 3 bodies were found, but the 6-year-olds unexplainably never made it to the city morgue. Because of this, many believe the spirit of the boy still lingers at the hotel, wandering the 12th floor. A security guard, which could possibly be the same one who chased the Shadow Man, claimed to have seen a small child in worn clothing standing silently in a hallway. He questioned the boy, and the boy reportedly grinned at him, then vanished before the guard's eyes. One of the most infamous locations inside the hotel is room 441, widely considered to be one of the most haunted rooms in the building. Guests have reported seeing the silhouette of a woman in the room with them. Reports of lights turning on and off randomly, as well as objects moving around on their own. Some even believe this hotel room was the inspiration for Stephen King's horror story 1408, a story centered around a hotel room so haunted that no one is meant to stay inside it for long. There have been many more deaths in the walls of this hotel. In 1904, an elevator operator fell 70 feet to the bottom of the elevator shaft. He died immediately on impact. In 1908, Roy Gormley, an almost broke spendthrift, shot himself in his room after paying the orchestra $500 to play George Handel's Dead March and buying drinks for all of the musicians. In 1910, James Kennedy checked into the hotel, went to his room, cut all the identification tags out of his clothes, burned all of his papers, and shot himself. In 1916, Morse Davis, a mining investor, and his wife formed a suicide pact in room 312. They both ingested 2 cyanide capsules. Mrs. Davis ended up surviving and was committed to a psychiatric hospital. In 1920, a man died of alcohol poisoning from poorly made moonshine. In 1926, Harriet Harrison fell down an empty elevator shaft from 6 stories up and died. In 1928, G. Herb Paulin, a sloganeer, died of a sudden heart attack in his room. He coined the term safety first. Around 20 years later, a longtime resident of the hotel who had a wooden right leg was having breakfast when he suffered a heart attack. He is likely known as Peg Leg Johnny and shows up in the South Tower area. He likes to make strange noises, push chairs around, slam doors, and play with lights. In 1950, John Raymond shot the hotel's credit manager who asked him about his $104 debt. Raymond shot himself as well. Around 16 years later, Frederick Hay, an attorney, was found dead in his room. He was naked, bound hand and foot with his own socks, and had been strangled with his own shirt. In the 1970s, a woman slit her wrists in one of the hotel bathtubs. At an unknown time period, a taxi driver made a fatal leap out of an upper floor window, a salesman intentionally flung himself down an elevator shaft, and a man hung himself from a covered hook. Today, the Congress Plaza Hotel continues to welcome guests from around the world, but not everyone who walks its halls is living. From shadowy figures to unexplained sounds and sealed rooms, the stories refuse to fade with time. Some say the hotel is haunted. Others say it's simply a place where too much has happened. Either way, many who stay the night leave with the same feeling, that they were never truly alone.
The Jane Addams Hull House Museum was built in 1856 as a summer home for Charles J. Hull, a wealthy land and real estate developer. Sitting on the outskirts of the city at the time, the house managed to survive the devastating Great Chicago Fire of 1871, while so much else was reduced to ash. But even in its early years, death found its way inside. The first was Millicent Hull, Charles Hull's wife, who died unexpectedly in her bedroom in 1860. Years later came another tragedy, a young woman named Irene Donner who was shot outside the settlement by her former fiancé. In 1889, Jane Addams and Ellen Gates Starr transformed the home into one of the first settlement houses in the United States. Located on Chicago's near west side, it became a refuge for immigrants arriving from Italy, Ireland, Germany, and beyond. people facing poverty, language barriers, and discrimination. Jane's vision was to educate, to support, and to bridge the gap between the wealthy and the poor. Hull House offered childcare, job training, education, and social services. It housed kindergartens, an art gallery, a public kitchen, a coffee house, a gymnasium, a swimming pool, a music school, and more. At its peak, it served up to 2,000 a week across 13 buildings. Jane Addams would go on to win the Nobel Peace Prize in 1931, the first American woman to do so. But despite all the good done within its walls, something else seemed to linger. Reports began to surface of ghostly activity. Children's footsteps could be heard running through the halls and the courtyard, voices echoing where no one stood. Some called them the Fountain Girls. In the courtyard there is said to be a portal to hell, marked by a circular concrete slab that was once a fountain. Others claimed to see shadowy monks wandering the property. Then, in the spring of 1913, something strange happened. A sudden surge of visitors began arriving at Hull House, thousands of people desperate to see something they believed was hidden inside. The Devil Baby. The story spread like wildfire. Different versions emerged, but they all shared one terrifying idea. A child, born not human but something else. In one version, a man cursed God and declared he would rather have the devil in his home, and then his wish was granted. The baby was said to have horns, a tail, cloven hooves, and the ability to speak. Jane Addams denied the rumors, giving interview after interview, insisting there was no such child. But the more she denied it, the more people believed. For 6 weeks, crowds flooded the doorstep, police had to manage traffic, mothers brought their children, hoping fear would force them into obedience. Pregnant women came, terrified their own babies were cursed. And then, just as quickly as it began, the hysteria faded. By 1963, most of the original Hull House was demolished to make way for the University of Illinois at Chicago campus. Only the original mansion and the dining hall remain today. Many believe whatever once took root there never truly left. Visitors and staff report seeing a woman in Victorian clothing standing in the upper windows watching the street below with a sad, distant expression. Some believe she is Jane Addams, others say it's Millicent Hull, forever tied to the home she never left. The attic is still considered a hot spot of activity. People report hearing crying when no one is there, doors open on their own, temperatures drop suddenly, footsteps pace back and forth, scratching sounds echo as if something is trying to get out. Some refuse to go up there alone. At night, a small childlike figure has been seen darting between displays, too fast, too unnatural. Witnesses describe it as dark, solid, not transparent like a typical ghost. Some say it moves in ways that shouldn't be possible. Others hear laughter, objects shifting, even the faint smell of sulfur. The basement may be the most disturbing of all. Once used for storage and coal, it is now where the most intense activity is reported. Maintenance workers have described chains dragging across the floor, glowing red or orange eyes in the darkness, deep voices speaking in languages that no one understands, and shadows that move with intention. Some people believe Hull House sits in a place where the veil between the worlds is thin, where spirits can cross more easily. And to this day, many believe those spirits are still there, watching, waiting, and refusing to leave.
In Old Town Chicago stands St. Michael's Church, looming over the surrounding buildings with its towering Gothic architecture, watching silently as the city grew around it. Originally, the church served as a sanctuary for German immigrants. The land it was built on was owned by Michael Diversey, a successful brewer who had no clear plan for what to do with it. Not wanting it to go to waste, he donated the land to a parish committee established by the Diocese of Chicago. The first church built on the site was far more modest than the structure seen today. But even in those early years, there was tension. Due to an ongoing feud tied to events in Germany, the church closed its doors to outsiders until 1860. That same year, the Redemptorists took control of the parish and held their first Mass in February. For a time, the church became a place of peace, almost too peaceful. The congregation quickly outgrew the building, and in 1866, construction began on a larger red brick church And in 1866, construction began on a larger red brick church at Linden Street and Hurlbut Avenue, today known as Eugenie and Cleveland. Once completed, it stood 200 feet tall, its steeple dominating the skyline and becoming a defining feature of Old Town. But that peace wouldn't last. The Great Chicago Fire tore through the city and St. Michael's was not spared. Flames consumed much of the structure. When the fire finally died out, parishioners and clergymen searched through the ruins, salvaging what little remained. Some said the destruction looked unnatural, as if something more than fire had taken hold, as if the devil himself had claimed the church. Though parts of the structure remained standing, the damage was severe. The bells had fused together in the heat, and the tower was left in ruins, but the church would not stay fallen. Once conditions were deemed safe, it was rebuilt. Within 2 years, St. Michael's stood again, this time with 5 new bells named after St. Michael, St. Joseph, St. Mary, St. Teresa, and St. Alphonsus. 12 years later, a new spire was added, crowned with a gilded cross. And for a time, things were quiet again, until 1970. One evening, during what should have been an ordinary mass, something unexplainable happened. There was no special event, no reason for anything unusual. A pastor, who has remained anonymous, was going through his usual routine, offering reverence to the parishioners as they approached. Focused on his task, he didn't notice at first, but something was moving down the line. A figure, draped in dark robes. As it drew closer, the pastor began to feel that something wasn't right. When he finally looked closer, what he saw would stay with him forever. Beneath the robe were cloven hooves. The rest of the figure was swallowed in a darkness that didn't seem natural, like the light itself refused to touch it. Still, the pastor stood his ground. Later, he said his faith gave him the strength to remain face to face with what he believed to be the devil himself. To this day, people still question what truly happened that night. Was it the devil who had come to St. Michael's? Was he the one responsible for the Great Chicago Fire? Or was he there as a warning that something even worse was coming? Whatever the truth may be, that was not the last strange occurrence inside the church. Over the years, parishioners have reported seeing a shadowy figure sitting silently in the pews, as if watching, waiting. Others have heard whispers with no source. Footsteps echo through empty aisles. Some describe an overwhelming feeling of being watched, even when they are completely alone. Many believe the spirits that linger here are former members of the congregation, unable or unwilling to leave the place they once held sacred, and maybe they never truly will.
On October 26, 1921, the Chicago Theater opened its doors, welcoming millions of visitors over the years to experience its grandeur. From vaudeville acts to modern concerts, this historic venue has hosted it all. Designed by architectural firm Rapp & Rapp and built by theater magnates Balaban and Katz, it was one of the first large, lavish movie palaces in America, dubbed the Wonder Theater of the World. It seated 3,880 guests and quickly became the place to be. The interior design was inspired by European palace architecture, particularly the Royal Chapel at Versailles and the Paris Opera House, giving it the unmistakable elegance that still stands today. Inside the lobby is a 5-story arcade featuring a grand staircase, ornate murals, crystal chandeliers, and marble columns. The auditorium includes a proscenium arch and a massive Wurlitzer organ that once rose from beneath the stage. In its early years, performances were accompanied by live orchestras alongside vaudeville acts and stage shows, something Chicago had never seen before. It was truly a spectacle. From the 1920s through the 1940s, the theater drew thousands of people every day. Legendary performers such as Bob Hope, Frank Sinatra, and the Marx Brothers took the stage. However, by the 1970s, the theater had lost much of its popularity and began to fall into disrepair. As downtown Chicago declined and suburban growth increased, the theater eventually closed its doors in 1985. Just 1 year later, in 1986, preservationists recognized its cultural and architectural importance and worked to restore it. The theater reopened and once again hosted live performances, concerts, and special events. In 2012, the Chicago Theater was officially designated a Chicago landmark. Over the years, staff, performers, and visitors have reported numerous unexplained experiences within the theater. The most commonly seen spirit is believed to be a male usher dressed in a formal 1920s uniform, complete with a jacket, bow tie, and cap. He is most often spotted in the upper balcony, walking the aisles, checking tickets, or guiding guests to their seats just as he would have done in life. If approached, the figure is said to vanish into thin air. Some staff believe he loved his job so much that he simply never left. Others have reported seeing multiple ushers, suggesting he may not be alone. Visitors have also described feeling taps on their shoulders before shows, only to turn around and find no one there. Another well-known spirit is the woman in white, often seen gliding around the grand staircase. Dressed elegantly as though attending a performance, she appears to belong to another era, likely the 1920s or 1930s. Witnesses say she moves gracefully through the space, sometimes pausing on the landing to look out over the lobby. Her appearance is so lifelike that she has been mistaken for a real person. Security guards have even approached her only to watch her vanish before their eyes. Some believe she is the spirit of a woman who died in the theater's early years, while others think she may be a residual presence replaying the same moment over and over again. When she appears, a faint scent of vintage perfume is often reported. After hours, when the theater is closed, activity is said to increase. Staff have reported hearing the Wurlitzer organ playing, despite it not functioning for decades. Footsteps echo across the stage as if someone is performing, and faint orchestra music has been heard playing when no one is inside. During rehearsals or sound checks, performers occasionally noticed a figure sitting in the upper balcony watching intently. When the crew members go to investigate, the seat is empty. Many believe the spirit is harmless, perhaps someone who loved the theater so deeply that they never truly left. Some staff have also reported technical malfunctions that seem unexplainable, stage lights flickering on and off, curtains moving on their own, and the sound equipment picking up voices, music, or even applause when the theater is completely empty. These occurrences are most often reported late at night or in the quiet hours between performances when the theater is at its stillest. Even after more than a century, the Chicago Theater remains a place where history refuses to stay silent. Beneath the glow of its chandeliers and the echo of past performances, something lingers, watching, waiting, perhaps still playing its part long after the curtain has fallen. Whether it's the devoted usher, the elegant woman in white, or something else entirely, one thing is certain. The show may end for the living, but inside these walls, it never truly does.